podcast, man. Welcome to I Was Thinking, man. I was thinking, and I wanted to share my thoughts with you, okay? And I normally don't do this. I'm normally not that guy, but to compliment himself at all, I don't do whatever. But hold on, wait. All right. If you're an audio only, that probably sucked what you just heard. But if you're visual, if you're watching this on YouTube, which hopefully you are, I just put my hood on. Now check out the Army Fatigue. Check out the Army Fatigue camo with the flag in the background. I mean, like, how cool. It's worth it, isn't it? Let me scoot down just a little bit. Gosh. Scoot back to some. I mean, look at that. That's just super cool, isn't it? Like, this is like, I probably need to podcast in this outfit every day, because just look at that. It just looks like I look official, right? I need to have an AR-15 in my hand, or at least on my back. Kyle Rittenhouse. I need to literally, I mean, look at it. Look. That's super cool. Anyway, I just noticed that, like, with the background, with the backdrop, it looks super cool, and I'm in love with it. I love it. I love everything about it. Welcome. It's good to have you. It's good to have me. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like I'm a treasure to myself, and that's why I do this. No, I'm just kidding. I'm joking. I'm not that self-conceited. Not even a little bit. I don't have the time to be. You know, I have lots of interest in being self-absorbed is not one of them. But yeah. Oh man, that was horrible about the vibration phone going off. But yeah, man, listen. I'm going to start this thing off right. I'm going to start it off right by explaining something to you, because this is what we do. We explain new things every episode. I want a new thing. I want a new idea, something to put into your mind that you maybe didn't think about the week before. And that's literally, or the day before. That's literally what the name of the game is. It's just like a little nugget of truth, a little way to just change the way of thinking. Because I change the way I think, and I like to alter my mind and think different ways and find new ways to live life, and tools for living life. Not just like I'm not saying change the whole life every day. I'm saying find a new tool. And here's a new tool for you. Don't take Friday off of work. If you ever have a day that you want to take off of work, don't let it be Friday. You know what day you're supposed to take off. I don't even need to tell you. You know it already. Monday. Always take Mondays off. Monday is the dread day. Monday is the day all your coworkers are in a bad mood. Monday is the day where either your coworkers are in a bad mood, that's most of them, and then you have the 1 or 2 or 3 coworkers that are in too good of a mood. It's Monday. Calm down. If we don't have donuts, you shouldn't be running around. If we don't have donuts, you shouldn't be doing cartwheels. Relax. I just came off of whatever weekend I had, and I felt like it was great, and I have to deal with you and every one of you and everything that's going on here. Now, if you take that day off and you decide to take Monday off over Friday, you skip the bullshit and you dive right into a Tuesday, and you don't have to worry about anything except for, okay, people's already in the swing of things. There's work to be done, and people have chosen the work that they're going to start for the week. And so now you can come in and just pick up the pieces. You should Monday is the day for picking up the pieces. Sorry. Tuesday is the day where the pieces are in the bins and all you have to do is sort them. You know, the pieces have been picked up. Now we're sorting them. Now we're putting them in the right compartments. Now we're putting them in the right locations. Now we're just walking the bin from wherever it was in the middle of a corridor, the middle of a hallway, to the rightful room and location. at least the right building. So that's what we're doing on Tuesday. And then as you progress down the week, you can go ahead and have them sorted and, arranged better and documentation of everything. And that's how you start to get it to the point where, okay, now at the end of the week, my spreadsheet's done. Metaphorical. But the thing is that on Monday, that's when the pieces are everywhere. No one remembers where they started at. You need to start on a Tuesday if you're going to take a day off. And this is for when you're just taking one day off. And on top of that, plus, who believes that you were sick on a Friday if you took a sick day? I certainly don't. Oh, you got sick on a Friday, so that we have no evidence of you being sick by Monday. So convenient. You took a sick day on Friday. Take a sick day on Monday. No one believes you're sick on a Monday. I mean, wait, do I say? Yeah, sorry. Reverse that. Scratch backwards. Who's going to question that you were sick on a Monday is what I meant to say. You had a weekend. People's like, okay, you had a weekend. You did whatever. You made a drink. Although drink is not an acceptable reason to be sick, but you made it eating some food. You were like, oh, I left some food out on Saturday night, and then Sunday morning came around, and I was like, oh, I left the food out, but I'm still gonna eat it. And then Monday rolls around, and you're sick, you got food poisoning. Much more believable story than Thursday night you ate something bad, and then woke up Friday, and all of a sudden you can't come to work. Nah. Plus, deadlines are always on Friday and stuff like that. So, a lot of deadlines are on Friday. So, a Monday day off is going to be the day you want to capitalize on. You want to seize that day. Because everybody knows that what's the worst day of the weekend? Sunday. Why is that the worst day of the weekend? Because you are thinking about going back to work on Monday. What's the best day of the weekend? Friday. Why is that? Because once you clock out, it doesn't matter what time you go to bed. Because it doesn't matter what time you wake up the next morning. See what I'm saying? So, with that being said, you take the best day of the week, which is Friday, and then you have another Friday, which is going to be Saturday, and then you're going to have a Sunday, which turns into a Saturday, and then Monday is your Sunday. But you've had 2 Fridays, so you're cool, because it's like you had your Friday, and then Saturday was your second Friday, So now when Sunday comes around, or when Monday comes around, and the end of Monday comes, and you're thinking about, I gotta work on Tuesday. It's not so bad, because you're like, oh, it's Tuesday. Plus, I only have 4 days to work. Plus, I really just had a Monday that I didn't give a damn about. So yeah, that's the rule. That's what we follow. That's the guidelines. That's what we do. If you watch this podcast, that's what you do. We don't do it any other way. The only way we do it is that we take Fridays off. But yeah, man, listen. So the other day, and I've been saying this for a while. This is not new. This isn't new, but it's new to you. I was, cause I gotta start out. I gotta start off with wisdom, then become risque, then get to news, then get to cool ideas, and then you sign off with something, memorable. But the risque part, and I don't know if I'm following that timeline or whatever today. I'm just saying, like, that's a good timeline, That's something that's what I think about when I think about what to do when I'm talking on a podcast. But anyway, so what does the term mooning come from? I don't know. I didn't look it up. All I can imagine is a white butt. You take your pants down and you show it to somebody and you moon them, right? So I just mooned you. Oh yeah, I just mooned you. Haha. Funny. I pulled my pants down, showed you my butt. You were looking the other direction, just like, hey, and then you turn around and then you see somebody's butt. You just see a guy's butt. It's always funnier when it's a guy's butt, right? That's when it's funny. It's not really funny when it's a girl does it, because then you have guys going awooga and eyeballing them and stuff, whatever. But if it's a guy doing another, doing another guy and he moons him, it's like supposed to be, pretty lazy but top tier comedy when it comes to, like, younger guys for sure. But even some older guys probably do it still. But definitely, like, it's like a college age, high school age, younger demographic. Now, I was thinking about the term, mooning, and how it's a white moon. You obviously mooning. It's like you see a white moon. So, um, obviously you can see the color of my skin. It's no secret here, right? It's no secret. So look at the flag. So I came up with a new term. It's called new mooning. You hear that? It's called new mooning. And I'm very proud of this term. I came up with it for a while ago, and I'm just happy and giddy to bring it up here, because new mooning is genius. You know what I mean? Every time I moon my wife, I new moon her. I new moon her. I say, baby, hey, look at the new moon. And she turns around, right? I mean, obviously she doesn't fall for it now. I have to come up with new tactics and stuff to do that. But you gotta, you have to come correct. You have to you have to spice up the relationship. You can't just do the same thing every day. You gotta come correct. You gotta change it up. You gotta be surprising. You know what I mean? You gotta surprise it with confetti guns and stuff like that. And my confetti gun is a new moon, and so hit you with the new moon, and joke never gets old. So, I mean, cause okay, and for you guys, and I'm not explaining the joke or nothing like that, but I just want to, I am explaining the joke, but it's like if you don't understand the term new moon, I'm explaining the term, not the joke. Uh, New moon, if you know the calendar days, if you have a full moon, the moon's white. You can see it every bit. There's no shadow projected onto the moon from the earth through the sun. But if you have a new moon, that's the part of the month where the sun is, I mean, sorry, the earth is directly in between the sun and the moon. So you have the moon spinning around the earth, takes 30 days approximately. And when the moon gets to, the sun is you guys, because you guys brighten up my day. And so the moon, this is the earth right here. The microphone's the earth and spinning, right? But it's going around you guys, so it's going around like this, right? So you got the moon, which is going around. It's going around the earth every 30 days. So it starts right here, it starts right here, and 30 days pass, and it's back right there. So, but when you have a new moon, the moon is approximately right here, directly behind the earth when it comes to the perspective of the sun. In respect to the sun, the moon is behind the earth. So, when the moon is behind the earth and it's in the shadow of the earth, because you obviously there's this shadow projected from the earth onto the moon, and the moon is completely dark. It's black. Can't see it. It becomes invisible in the sky. I think there's probably ways of seeing it if you know, kind of like if you've been following it, you could kind of know exactly where the moon was, and there may be a way to kind of see from the light that goes around the crux of the earth. I don't know. I'm not an astrologist. I took some astrology classes, but I don't know for sure that you can't see, whether you can or can't see maybe a small outline of the moon while it's traversing around the back part of the earth. But regardless, it's black enough, right? And I may not be as dark as a new moon is, but it's a damn good term, and you guys should use it too. Even white guys, it's just new moon your wife. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? It doesn't make any sense, but let's start using different terms. I like to find the root word of terms. I really like, like layman's, layman terms, like layman. you have to break down the root words and kind of figure out where the old part came from, and some lot of word. Obviously, words in English were derived by Latin, and all these different. So you have situations where you can look at a word and kind of figure out where it came from. But sometimes things come from culture. So a lot of times you'll have a compound word that has been forged from just everyday talk that someone came up with because in their industry or in our culture or in their culture, subset culture of the larger American culture, we have certain words that pop up because they're known in that area of or that world of that part of their lifestyle. So yeah, it's like I like to find out where it comes from because a lot of times we have things in our vocabulary that we use quite often, and this comes up in conversation, and we never question like, where did this come? Like, how did this saying start? But it's like in probably like in 200-300 years, probably longer than that. Maybe let's say 500 years from now, who's to say that people will understand putting the buggy before the horse or putting the cart before the horse? Maybe in 500 years, people will, there will be a large percentage of the population who may not even understand or remember or know or learned about the fact that there were horse drawn carriages. So if you put the carriage before the horse, it obviously means that you're trying to somehow drive with the carriage alone and the horse is chilling in the back. And so like it's an easy one, right? That's an easy one. Everybody probably understands that. You probably understood the way that it worked by just the first time you heard it or the first couple times you heard it. You may have used it when you were a little kid and didn't really understand it, and then you got a little older and it made more sense to you then. And uh, uh but like it was easy to pick up on it. You didn't need to ask somebody why do they say carriage before the horse. You were able to deduce that by just analytically thinking. Simple. But then there's some harder ones that get into the weeds, and you have to start thinking about like, how did they come up with this idea? And a lot of times um it was Latin, like I said before, but even as frequently, it's something that they a lot of times they'll be like, if you go up on Webster Dictionary, they'll say, well, we think the origin is from this, or we think the origin is from that, but there's multiple different references that it could have came from, and we're not exactly sure. And every once in a while, there's one where the Webster will say, we're unknown of the origins of it. It's from this period or whatever in time. And I swear, sometimes I can look at the word and understand where it came from, even though they say they don't know where it came from. Sometimes I can look at it and be like, it makes a lot of sense that it came from this. Same way with the horse and the carriage. I feel like one day someone's gonna be like, I feel like they meant like, if there's like a new culture, like a new com like not a new country, but like, say there was like some type of great extinction, and then a lot of our history got erased, and some people stumbled upon that. I feel like somebody would be like, I don't understand it at all, and then there'd be someone in that era that's like, oh, I get it completely, even without knowing the complete history of uh I know America wasn't the only place that had horses and carriages, but I think that maybe that term came from America. I'm not sure exactly, so that'd be interesting. um so today, I was talking to my wife. She works in the hospital, and she was on the ground floor, and this conversations came up multiple times because in my industry I have to work with levels all the time. So, and I mean story levels, like this, the level of a story, and oftentimes this it comes up the confusion of ground floor versus first floor. So a lot of buildings, specifically hospitals, I don't see this in office buildings almost ever. I never see it in office buildings. I only see it in hospitals. And I can't think of like any other place, like a public library maybe, I don't think so, but maybe a public library somewhere like that. It's a large, old building. So a lot of times you'll see ground level, first floor, second floor, basement, sub basement. Okay, one of these things did not belong. If you're on the ground level, that would make you assume you're on the ground, which means the same level as the grass outside, right? So I should be able to touch grass and be plus or minus a few inches, because you sink into the grass a little bit, plus or minus a few inches of the same level as the concrete structure that I'm going to stand on once I open that front door, right? Okay, simple enough. Moving on. What did the first floor? What's the first floor? What do you think? What do you think of when you think of one? I mean, because like we don't say zero, right? Like who starts at zero? And then if you do start at zero, then what's basement? If you're saying that the first floor is zero, then what's the basement? 0, 0? -1? Like, so you have first floor, and then you have second floor. Why is it not ground floor / first floor, then second floor after that? Because ground floor and first floor should be synonymous. They should mean the exact same thing. If I type in ground floor inside of a thesaurus, the thesaurus should say floor on the ground surface, or grade surface of the earth / the first story of a building. And then after, so what's up with the differentiating the difference between first floor being actual, like, you literally think about it like this: the first floor is actually up in the air somehow, so one should be up in the air, so I have to climb up a story to get to one. It doesn't make any sense to me. I think that one should be one, which is the beginning of something, unless you're talking about coding. Now, if you're talking about programming languages and stuff like that, yes, 0 is the first one because you begin at 0 in coding languages. That makes sense. Those are computers. When you talk about in practice, though, in practice, everything starts at 1. There's no aisle 0 when you go inside of a hardware store. I don't go inside a Home Depot and say, hey, where's the garden hose? Oh, it's an aisle 0. Doesn't happen, right? Doesn't happen. So I shouldn't be getting floor 0 as the same as a ground floor, and then first floor is the floor above it. That doesn't make any sense. It's just, first floor. So I'm beating a dead horse at this point, but at the same time, it annoys the shit out of me. And I've also talked to a couple of my coworkers who are from out of the country, and a lot of them, or all of them, have said that when you go outside the country and we go to places like India or Britain or whatever, those countries use ground floor and then first floor is above it. It's annoying. Pisses me off, man. And then my other question is, like, who started it? Like, did the Americans, the old Americans who were starting to build multiple layer homes or multiple layer buildings, multiple story buildings, did they start off with this weird convention of naming things, or was it the British? Did the British start off with naming things in a weird convention, and then we adopted that only in certain buildings, because it certainly doesn't work in office buildings. Office buildings, you walk in, it's the first floor, and there is no mention of a ground floor. There's no confusion of a ground floor, because what happens is you're on the 8th floor or the 7th floor or the 6th floor, and then you're looking for to just leave the office, and you press 1 because you think that's where the beginning of the office starts, and it's not. And you start walking around and get lost, and you're like, oh, stupid me, I'm on the first floor, not the ground floor. I've got to go down one more time. So stop confusing people, people getting lost and shit. I get pissed. I get heated on these. I get heated on these. You know, these topics. These topics. They start riling me up. Don't rile me up, man. Don't tread on me. Um. Okay, so this was a topic I talked about on another podcast, and I didn't know if I was going to release that podcast. I don't know if I still am. So fuck it. I'm going to talk about it now. The topic because hey, I don't know if you hear it on another episode because I decided to publish it, and then you hear it here again. Fast forward. So working. So I broke down the math. We have 8,700 hours a year of time on this planet. If granted that you live from January 1st to December 31st, if you make it through that whole time, you have approximately 8,700 hours. It's at 8,760, 8,760 hours. Oh. So with that being said, if you work a normal 9 to 5 job or 8 to 5 job, which most Americans work, that's another one. Not to go back, but that's another one. Like the 9 to 5 thing, that's a bank. Those are bank hours, and typically no one works that besides bankers. So how bankers got capitalization on the hours that the vast majority of America works, I'll never understand it. I get that you guys. The bankers were the financiers, and so that was a very important and prestigious job way back in the 18 whatevers. But it doesn't make any sense. Railroad workers were working back then, and they never worked no 9 to 5. Coal miners never worked 9 to 5. Most people in industries, automotive, manufacturers, any manufacturing business, there was no 9 to 5. It was 6 o'clock in the goddamn morning till whenever the fuck you got off. So it could be 6 to 2, 6 to 3, 6 to 6. So it's just that's interesting that the bankers somehow capitalized on time. Work time. But anyway, most people work 8 to 5, right? So, and I would say the vast majority of America gets 30-minute lunch break probably, but there's a large portion who also gets an hour. I don't know if it's 50-50. Maybe 50% of the people get 30 minutes, 50% of people get an hour. That's possible. I can believe that. But regardless, if you have a situation where you're working and you get a 30-minute lunch break, you approximately, and this is not including vacation time, and it's not including sick time, and it's not including holidays. This is just this is without subtracting that. I probably should have did the math for subtracting those because I think we have, but not everybody gets holiday off, so I didn't even decide to include that, and I'm not going to include it. Fuck you. I'm just kidding. But 1.5% of your time that you will be on this planet in a year is spent on your lunch break if you do a 30-minute lunch break every day. And about 3% of your time is spent on 3% of your time on Earth for a year is spent during lunch for you folks that get an hour. Also me. So that's where I want to get to. 3%. So I get an hour, and I take my hour. I mean, I don't have to take my hour. I suppose it's not like a paid. It's not a paid portion of my work. You don't get paid for lunches or whatever. So I could take my hour. So I take my hour every day, pretty much. And the thing about that is with it being 3% of your life. Why spend that at the same location that you're going to be spending the rest of your day as well? So, to elaborate, you are at work if you're doing an 8 to 5. You're at work about 8 or 9 hours a day. Is the amount of time that you need to be available at work, pretty much. And travel, we'll get into that later. But just keep 9 hours is the amount of time that you really you have to be at work. Of that time, that 1 hour lunch break, you should spend that elsewhere because just alone with that 8 hours that you're working, 9 hours there, of the 8 hours that you're working, work hours is about 24% of your time a year. Again, not including sick days and not including holidays and not including vacations. You can subtract that later, but not everybody takes vacations either. Some people skip vacation years so they can take a better vacation the next year, or because they just got a debt to pay down. So, with that being said, if you're working every single day and you don't take any days off, and you say I'm no days off, no sick days, then you're working about 24% of your lifetime on Earth for a year. 24%. That's a decent chunk of change. Why add 3% to that time that you're sitting at work? Go outside, touch grass, breathe air, look at water, watch birds, eat outside. You know what I mean? Why be trapped in some climate controlled location that you've been in for 4 hours, maybe even longer if you take a later lunch, and then you have another 4 hours to go, and you're going to use your lunchtime to eat indoors at the same place you've been at and will be at for 8 hours? That ninth hour you need to be using it productively by leaving the establishment and eating elsewhere. You know what I mean? Why turn 24% into 29% for you folks, or sorry, 4% into 26% for you folks to get an hour lunch? And why turn your 24% into 25.5% for you folks to get a half hour? No, thank you. I can't do it. I've always been the one that leaves the office to take my lunch breaks. And I'm not saying go buy lunch. Like some of you might think I'm saying go buy your lunch, leave the office to go buy lunch, or go leave your office to go drive somewhere. If you drive somewhere if you want to, but literally the meat and potatoes of what I'm saying is that you got to get out of the office and breathe some air. Pack your own lunch. Absolutely. Warm it up in the microwave oven or whatever. Or if it's a sandwich, you don't have to microwave it at all. You just go straight out. Just leave, man. Like, geez. Like, my job, we have cafeteria. How many times have I eaten in the cafeteria? Goose egg. Donut. Bagel. Zero times have I eaten in that cafeteria. Zero. Why is that? Because I touch grass on a daily basis. Metaphorically and figuratively and literally. So, but to continue on to that thought process. So 24% is work hours, approximately. I'm just going to say the hour lunch. So 3% of that time, 3% add addition to that for lunch. So we're at 27. I think I did some bad math earlier when I said add the 3% to the 24. That's 27. I think I might say 28, but it's close enough. Whatever. You're not checking my math, or maybe you are. If you're checking my math, let me know in the comments. But 24% plus 3%, that's 27% of time that you're going to actively be at work. Plus, you have a commute. People are commuting longer and further away. Longer and further away. So, we used to, a commute you probably used to be much, your factory probably was 15 minutes away. Now, people are driving an hour to get to work. People are driving, 30 minutes to get to work. So 40, sometimes longer. I've heard of people drive 2 hours to get to work. 2 hours to get to work. So I'm gonna just say, if you're looking at a job that it takes you about 30 minutes to get to work, which is, I would say, average probably. I don't know for sure, but I would say maybe 30 minutes is a good guesstimation of how long it takes people to get to work. So with that math, I said 30 minutes to get there, 30 minutes to get back. Although it probably takes you longer to get back because rush hour traffic getting back home always seems to be worse than getting to work. People People are just doing whatever, and they crash, and then you have the cops, and then you have the firemen, and then you have the ambulance, and then you have the people that have to do this and do the rubbernecking and watch everything that's going on, and the people who don't know what the hell to do, if I should get in the right lane or the left lane, and then the people who don't want to let people get on to the on-ramp, and then people who don't want to let people off the off ramp. So you have all these shits happening, and because all these shits happening, you got traffic. Worse, because no one's considerate, right? Or you might be texting and driving. Either one. Either way, it's all bad, right? So with that being said, if you take that hour of commute time, which it may be more, it may be less, you may be right around the corner from your job, but I doubt it. Travel time is 3%, right? 3%. So that's another 3% of your life that you're spending, and it is related to your job. So that's 3% for travel. You have 24% for being actually at work, and then you have your 3% for lunch break. So that's all 30% of your life force. Now, you're like, oh, but it's cool. It's 30%, but I have 70% to myself. No, you don't have 70% to yourself because you forgot you had to sleep. And to sleep, it takes at least 6 hours. Now, some people may sleep less. Some people might get their whole beauty hours in and get the whole 8 hours, 8.5, whatever. But I doubt it. You're probably getting your 6 hours in, just like the average American, just like me. I'm getting my 6 hours in. Because while I'm recording this podcast, I'm thinking I should have went to bed, but I'm not, because I am a rebel. And you will be too. And you are too. We all are rebels, you know? So with that being said, if you have to look at the sleep, and you got your 6 hours a day that you're sleeping, how did I get this number? Did I calculate something wrong? Oh, no, I didn't calculate something wrong. Yeah, it's 25%. 25% sleep. Now you might be like, well, how is your sleep how is sleep more than work? When you sleep 6 hours and you work 8 hours, you forgot the 2 days that you don't have to work, which is called the weekend. So yeah, you have to sleep on those days though, right? Some people may be like party all night, party all day. Me, I gotta get my 6 hours of sleep so I don't snap on the next person I see. So I gotta get my 6 hours in, plus coffee. So yeah, so you have 25% is sleep, and what we calculated before was, and I'm gonna say the 3% of lunch break. I'm saying that's associated with work as well. That's work associated, although you're not actually at work. So that's the 30% work association, and then you have a 25% sleep association. Now, I'm no math genius, but I would say that's about 55% of your life. So you have less time to do activities in your daily basis than you do, with the stuff you have no control over for the most part, unless you're self-employed or you have some type of income going on. You could just you can reduce the amount of hours that you work. Some people are self-employed and they work more than a corporate job, So those folks, you get even less, but you get the fulfillment and the freedom to do something that you love, hopefully, and to not feel like a slave, hopefully, and to also, generate your own wealth and become more wealthy than the man who's working for $1 for every 100 that the company's making. So if that's the case, and there's some people out there who are making $1 for every 100 that the company's making, but they're producing 10 cents. So the company's really making a net loss. Or no, it's like, no, not a net loss. Hold on. That's actually that was more like $10 for every dollar you output, they're making $10. That's for the worker that's doing the bare minimum, close to nothing. So, that's funny. I think a lot of people have probably been that 10% worker that that person who puts in 10% effort for everyone who's doing, you're doing 10% effort for every hour you're doing, for every hour you're there. So yeah, so the company may be making $100 for a guy who's putting in 100% for their $1, but for you, you're savvy. You're working 10%, and that means they're only making $10 for every dollar you make. I mean, it's like that meme, you know. So yeah, that's all that basically just to say is that cherish your time. Your time is valuable. You have 45% of your life per year. I'm gonna say per year because you have your. It's not of your life in general because you had diapers and school and then high school and then maybe college and then you maybe I didn't have to. You didn't work most of that time. You maybe not worked at all because Daddy had such a great trust fund or Grandpa had such a great trust fund that was trickled down to you. You didn't have to worry about shit. And then you also had a scholarship. Oh, sweet. And you also may have had a sports scholarship. Oh, sweet. Or because you didn't have an academic scholarship because you're stupid, and that we know that, right? So it's someone you didn't. It's not off the guns and morals of. It's not off your own personal guns. You got something handed down to you. But for most people, you had to work in high school and had to work in college, and you had to provide something for yourself. Your parents might help out, but you still have to provide something for yourself. And in that case, you did put in some time working, and so that's going to contribute. But all in all, it wasn't as much work as you're going to do as an adult, working 40 hours a week on average. Some people, lawyers, doctors, they work much, much more hours than 40 hours a week, 60, 80. I mean, when you're a resident, they used to be able to work you to death, and for, almost no pay, really. I mean, it's, you're making a little bit of money, but it's nowhere near once you graduate, once you pass residency and you become a doctor fully and all that stuff. So, with that being said, so it's like, dude, cherish your time, okay? That's one thing. Cherish your time. And try to make the most of it. And one example of making the most of it is that 30 to an hour time during your lunchtime. Don't be a slave. Don't be a numbskull. Numbskull. Don't be a numb brain. I see why they call it numbskull, because if you said numb brain, it doesn't sound as cool as numbskull. Don't be a numbskull. Yeah, don't be a numbskull. Yeah, and then your mood will elevate as well. Mood is very important. So all these things are factors that you should calculate when you're thinking about your day to day, when you're at work or whatever. I think, yeah, man. So, oh shit, dude. So I'm gonna have a guest on here soon. Just to, I've done a lot of lighting and setting up to see what it would look like with two people. So yeah, I really like the look that I have now with the single shot, but with the double shot, I had to do a little work to kind of figure out how to get the same similar look where it's like you're looking at one person, but then you're looking at one person twice. Because that's essentially what it is. You're just gonna be looking at a version of me two times, but also just zoned in to each person when they're talking. You don't want to be looking at a whole room. You want to be paying attention to the coolness that I've set up visually. Visual representation. We all care about that, right? Yeah, man. So, in leaving, I'm gonna give some advice. There was lots of guys out there who wonder about how do you talk to a girl, and how do you talk to a girl, or how do you find a girl that's interested in you and interested in things that you're interested in. How do you get to that first hurdle when you're talking to her in the first interest levels and most people tell you it's a numbers game, and for the most part it is. It actually is a numbers game. It definitely is. The more women that you talk to, the more of a chance you have to find someone who will indulge you. But there's some aspects that are not discussed when people talk about the numbers game. One of them being the fact that the way that you speak to women is very important. One way that you want to speak to women, and this is not an Alabama, Southern Kentucky type of thing I'm about to say. So, stick with me. You want to talk to women that you're interested in as if they're your sister or your cousin, your girl sister or your girl cousin. If you can talk to your girl sister and you can talk to your girl cousin and you can talk to them very calmly in a good demeanor, then you can do the same thing with a girl who's a stranger. And you just talk to them the same way, like the same topics, the same, speech patterns. All those things get formed and put together into the way that you talk to this stranger. If you saw your cousin and you riding down the bus, you riding on the bus or whatever, and you see your cousin or whatever, and you don't want and it's a cousin that you're used to being around and everything, and you're not about to hit them with the, oh hey cuz. What's another way you could greet them? You might just walk over to them and just be like, look at that. You might walk over to them a very familiar way, point something out to them, and that's the way you begin the conversation. You don't begin you don't have to begin the conversation with hi, how you doing, what's up, cuz. Like, you can. Don't get me wrong. There's plenty of times that you would do that. But there's other ways you can approach a conversation with a cousin or a sister. With a sister, you can immediately, even if they didn't know you were there at first, or if y'all know each other and start laughing at the fact that you guys both happen to be at the same place at the same time, you don't walk over and introduce and start conversation like a stranger. You start a conversation as if you had already been talking earlier in that day and now you just happen to be meeting up. The same way that you're talking to them, your family members, you can talk to a girl, a stranger, a new, and not even necessarily a stranger, but a friend of a friend, or an acquaintance, a feminine acquaintance. And I'm saying girl a lot. I mean more like someone you're attracted to / feminine energy if you're a guy, or girl, whatever. So just if you're interested, and this actually works for anybody. So even though I'm being specific, it's actually more general than what I'm letting on. Most people react much better to someone who talks to them familiar than they will talk to somebody who talks to them unfamiliar. Like, when you talk to someone unfamiliar, especially if it's a standoffish, and this won't work for everything. This is not. There are exceptions to every rule. No matter what you do in life, there's always going to be exceptions, and it's the rule. And this is no different. So there are going to be people who will be cringed or weirded out if you come over and talk to them normally. But there's vast majority of people are used to conversations, and if you immediately start talking about, like, just pointing out something, and there's no, the context of what you're talking about is already understood by both of you because you both noticed it and both see it, but the introduction was not needed because you're talking about something that's happening in real time. And so in real time, you just talk to them just like a normal human being. So in closing, that's all I want to say. I really appreciate you guys. Thanks for joining. I enjoy this time with you guys, and I hope you enjoy your time with me. All right. See ya. Follow me.